My guest today is Maggie Kane. Maggie Kane is the founder and executive director of A Place at the Table, which is Raleigh's first and best pay what you can cafe.
And only right now.
Only right now?
Yeah.
Okay. She's also a co-conspirator, collaborator in the Community Leaders Drinking Coffee group, where we get together nonprofit and social impact leaders to support each other as we're kind of solving these problems in our region. So we do conferences twice a year and ongoing groups.
Yep.
Welcome, Maggie. I'm so
and your
glad
friend.
you're here. And my friend.
And your friend. Thank
She's
you.
my friend. She's my longtime friend and buddy. And I'd love to start with just, how do we find you, Maggie? Like, what's it like being Maggie recently? How's it going with table, with life, etc.?
Yes. Good question. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me. This is super fun to do this with you. I'm at A Place at the Table. We are located in downtown Raleigh. We are like cruising along, feeding lots of people, loving lots of people. And so you'll find me there a lot. I also am a huge believer in creating community in lots of different spaces. So with the community leaders, I meet with a lot of different nonprofit folks and are part of a lot of different nonprofits, sit on boards, and I'm a recent guardian ad litem. I don't know if I told you that.
Cool.
So loving on the babies that are in the foster care system, which has been such a gift. Throw in singles events, doing lots of community-led work, which has been super cool. So I'm all over the place, but mostly at A Place at the Table.
If you're listening to this, you probably know Maggie, and you know that she's a staple of the community. In fact, at one point, I created a candle, the St. Maggie candle.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
We're just so lucky to have you here.
Thank you.
And glad to know you.
Thank you.
The thing that, you talk about a lot of different things, the singles events, the place at the table, working with folks in homelessness, working with folks in the foster care system. You're connected to all of these really important issue areas in our region. And I want to get more into like your personal story. So Tending the Fire podcast is focused on these stories of rites of passage, right? A rites of passage is a ceremony of maturity. And there's 3 main stages. And I want to get into a story that comes up for you around kind of when was the most impactful and recent rites of passage in your life. And just to kind of frame for the audience, the 3 stages are separation. So you separate from what you're used to, what's normal in your life. And then you have this liminal space where you're kind of in between who you were and who you're going to be, this threshold space. In other words, it's called the ordeal. And then something gets left behind and something comes with you from that. And as you return back to your community, you're a new person. You integrate that new story. So those will kind of be the 3 aspects of rites of passage we'll get into. And before this, we were talking about your story from June 2022 to August 2022. And take me into that story. I think you were saying that you were in the airport.
Yes.
About to fly to Spain.
Yep.
You had just experienced some really intense stuff personally, and you were about to hike the Camino de Santiago. So drop me into that story. Tell me.
Okay, let me set the scene here. So we opened A Place at the Table in January of 2018. So started working on it in January of 2014. So spent 4 years building A Place at the Table. We finally opened. And then 4 years later, I went and hiked the Camino. I always wanted our staff to have more PTO, more time off, more things that we could do and take care of our team. And this work is really hard, working with folks experiencing lots of different vulnerabilities and different things going on in their lives is really hard and challenging work. And so learned from a couple different friends of my friend Sarita at Step Up Ministries. They had a sabbatical policy, and I said, okay, we've got to do this. And so I highly recommend sabbatical policies to every nonprofit leader, really every leader in general. But I think nonprofits, again, they experience so much that happens in the day-to-day. Lots of burnout. So we added a sabbatical policy, a 6 weeks off paid, go be not allowed to talk. We actually had a recent employee just get back from sabbatical last week, and he'd been on our team for over 5 years. And I said, okay, so who contacted you? And he was like, no one. I'm like, no, really, who contacted you? He's like, no one. So really proud of our team for respecting people's sabbaticals because it's important. So my turn, I went on sabbatical. During this time, I had Table was growing. We had just expanded. We had doubled our team, doubled our size. We were feeding lots of people. It was, during but post the intensity of the pandemic. We had just opened back inside. I had zero idea how to run a business in general, let alone one during a pandemic, and during construction and during growing the business and trying to figure that out. I mean, honestly, we didn't think we'd survive the pandemic. And so getting to the other side of that, getting back inside, resetting who we were as a mission, it was definitely time for a break. I felt so lucky to have taken a break. My dad had also just passed away. He had experienced a lot of different health stuff over the prior years. I had been his person and the person, his power of attorney. And so there was a lot in there that was taking up my headspace, my mind space. But when you're working all the time, you don't have time to grieve. You don't have time to think about it. You don't have time to process. And so, I said, okay, if I'm gonna take, and this is what goes for any vacation, if I take any sort of vacation, I have got to leave Raleigh, Durham. Like I've got to leave this area. And so I said, okay, how far away can I get? What have I always wanted to do? And I always wanted to hike the Camino. And it had always been the ritual of the Camino. It is the definition of community and people, which is what I feel are my passions in life, community and people and loving people, and not to mention food and wine and all the other good things that come in Spain. And so I looked it up, said, okay, let's do it, and booked my flight. Didn't really have anything else booked. Just knew that I needed to start walking. Very lucky to have grabbed a friend. I told you about my friend Sarita at Step Up Durham. We were having a conversation. We would hike together in 2020, 2021 during the pandemic when the only thing you could do was be outside. So I said, Sarita, like I was talking about this Camino thing. She said, what if I come with you? So Sarita came for a week with me to start. And so we roll up to the airport together. I had just been dating someone we had been dating for like 8 weeks at the time. And so there was just a lot of unknown. I'm leaving work for the first time and never taken a vacation. I was dating someone. I'd never been to Spain and experienced this country. And so I'm sitting in the airport and I look like a train had run me over because I was crying. I again, didn't know what to expect. Didn't even know where we were going to stay that night. And when we arrived, and I just thought, all right, my life is about to begin.
Wow. Got
on the plane. We figured out how to get we had to train and bus and train again to get to the first town. And then that night we sat at a bar and we said, are we really about to do this? Woke up the next morning, it was pouring down rain. We start hiking. Our friend Rory, now Sarita and Rory are married. So it's quite hilarious. And I tell their story all the time. But our friend Rory, who we met on the Camino, looked at us on the side and said, to the side and said, have you guys ever hiked and walked before? And we were like, I guess, but not really. And so we just start hiking up, pouring rain. And 30 days later, Roy and I walked across and finished, and lifelong friends. And
truly a life-changing experience. Life-changing. Especially Sarita found her partner.
This would be her rites of passage too.
Okay, well we'll get her on the pod to talk about it. So I'm kind of mapping this out, right? So the before time, before
chaos,
this piece, because you said here's when my life begins.
Yeah.
Right. I think those were your words. And before then, you'd 8 years of thinking about this idea, dreaming up. Place at the table, grinding, hustling, making it work through COVID, doubling your output, if I remember, during COVID, without an inside location.
Definitely,
Right? The food insecurity was off the charts at that time. And you told me you'd never taken a vacation. So
never.
8 years of no vacation.
Yeah.
And it dawned on you
7 days a week, at a place at the table, on the floor, making coffee, making... sorting chaos. Doing all.
How did you know that you were ready? How did you know that you needed a break?
I wasn't.
You didn't?
I didn't know.
Did someone push you? Did you have a mentor?
Totally, yeah.
What was the call to adventure, the call to action?
So I'm a traveler. I love to travel. I've always loved to travel. I was sitting with a friend and they said, Maggie, you love to travel. You've had all these beautiful opportunities to travel the world, and you've done it. And the past 8 years you haven't. Yeah. And also, Maggie, you've and this is one of my biggest regrets is you were a workaholic. You did hustle. You skipped baby showers. You skipped weddings. You skipped funerals. You were grinding for everything a place at the table. Your life was not your life. And you've got to take a break. You've got to separate. We were very lucky to hire a dear friend who was also the second encourager of this, Sophia Wu, who became our director of operations. And she had my back and she said, Maggie, go. I got this. You will not call. They will not call you. We got this. We will be okay. And after that day, I said, okay, I'm doing it, and didn't call, didn't check in, and came back 6 weeks later.
This is it's so good that you had community and friends and
gosh.
mentors who were like pushing you towards this. I remember talking to you about this when this was going on.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did my own version a year later.
I remember that.
Because I hadn't taken a break from Journeyman.
Yeah.
I took a month off, and I was like,
wasn't it a major thing?
I was prepping my team. I was like, okay, I was trying to make sure everything was lined up.
You had a transition document.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So just a nod to that, sharing that story and being open with you know, kind of your needs and wants kind of had an impact on other people. But I'm going back to this kind of first stage, which is separation, right? So day in, day out, you're in there, you're making coffee, you're doing everything. And then you realize, you know what, I need something more. I want to travel. You have encouragement, you have kind of mentors guiding you, and you say yes. And you say yes without knowing what's next. You don't know where you're going to stay.
No.
You're in the airport. You have a buddy. But this idea of stepping into the mystery is a key part of Rite of Passage, right? So hadn't been hiking, like maybe your gear, you had like some gear that was like workable.
Maybe, yeah. I didn't have the right shoes. I didn't have a hiking stick. I didn't have the right Band-Aids for my blisters. Yeah.
Do you think that was a key part of this experience? Because you told me earlier that there was a pre-Camino Maggie and a post-Camino Maggie.
For sure.
What else about that separation around like the parts of you that had to shed for this transformation to occur? Was there anything else that you kind of let go of in that process?
Oh,
in the beginning?
I mean, control, a schedule, I'll start with control. I definitely control. Every part of my life, I like want it to be perfect. I want it to be and schedule. I want it to be planned out. Like I want it to all go right and by the books, and I got to hit it all. I got to be perfect. And then at this time, I had created this organization that people were looking at to me like I was like a hero, right? And that's I don't say that arrogantly. I say that just honestly and humbly. And so I'm like, okay, I go. No one's gonna know me there. I have no schedule. I get to be whoever I want to be. I could sleep in if I want. I can wake up early, walk by myself for hours. I have zero schedule. I can stop for 5 hours and look at a church or look at a museum, and I can eat all the bread and cheese I want. And so I got to literally like be whoever I wanted to be and do whatever I wanted to do. The only things I had to do in the day was walk and eat.
That sounds like it could be like kind of opening and exciting.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part to let go?
Hardest part to let go was probably like I pride myself in trying to be a good friend to folks. So the hardest part to let go was not being present with my community here, not being everyone's support, everyone's person. I was 8 hours away, and I was on a way different schedule than anyone else, and I needed to take a step back. So I think, I mean, I'm answering this question now as I'm saying that, figuring this answer out now. But I think it really was like I'm not connected to Raleigh at all, and I've been so deeply connected to everyone and everything all the time that it was like, okay, I'm totally separated, and I really have to lean into this time, this alone time, this I mean, I beg to say a little bit of loneliness time. Yeah. Whereas I hadn't felt lonely in years.
Yeah. Well, is it, to go a scoop deeper, is it who am I outside of being the support for all these people?
Yeah, and
because like
the
you were
place to
such
table
a
Maggie.
good support. I mean, that is like door dashing people ice cream. People,
of course,
when they're feeling bad. So is it who am I? Is it an identity thing? Like, who am I outside of the context of supporting my friends? Or is it something else?
And who am I outside of being a place to table Maggie?
Yeah, heard that.
So I think it's twofold. It's
we've talked about this before. Your identity with the nonprofit identity.
Yeah.
Right. For a lot of founders, like you and I, who've started nonprofits, you are the anchor, right? You are the hero.
Yeah.
People put you on the pedestal.
Too, but yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. And so this idea of you have 6 weeks, at times alone.
Yeah, a lot of times alone. Yeah.
What happened in kind of that next phase? So you separated from kind of like, for now I'm not Table Maggie. I'm just a woman on this Camino.
I told people I was a teacher. I told
Okay.
people like I was like, oh, let me.
So you
figure out.
leaned into it. Yeah.
I leaned
Yeah,
way
yeah.
in until eventually I started actually being real about my story. But I leaned way into it and said I could be whoever I want to be. And I wasn't lying. I just was like, oh yeah, like I work with students and kids because I do sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, or I'm just in the nonprofit space, or I work at a restaurant.
Well, you were able to take that coat of
That's
like
right.
the table coat, right? You were able
Correct.
to like shed that and say,
Correct.
Well, who am I? And you're kind
1,000%.
of trying things out. You're being creative.
Definitely. And I think the really cool thing that happened, and it wasn't cool at the time, but I got this like I'm looking at you, Shire, as someone who's been on the Camino. I got this like epically awful food poisoning, like the worst of the worst food poisoning. I ate this chicken. I know it was chicken in this town that there were like signs posted everywhere that said, "Do not eat this chicken," or "Do not eat their food in the town." Like health inspections were way different in this tiny town, and so, or in Spain in general. And so I remember eating this chicken, and I remember a couple days later I ran into this other guy who was like, "Haven't seen you in a while. I've been sick." He said he'd been sick. I was like, "I've been sick." We realized the last time we saw each other was in that same restaurant. So yeah, we know it was from this one place. But I was like out for the count for like 10 days. I did hike because I, again, am someone that's gonna keep hustling no matter what. But it was hard. It was really hard. There were a lot of tears, a lot of thinking, I am not gonna make this. How am I gonna survive this? I remember calling a friend, and I was sitting on some like mountain, and I went into a store. We were like, it was like a town in these like hills. So I went to this like grocery store, and I said, "Please, is there a taxi? I'm so sick. I'm so sick." And they're like, "There's no taxi. There's no taxi." And they said, if you want a taxi, it's gonna be about like $1,000. I didn't have money like that.
Whoa.
So I was like, I guess I have to walk. And there was no
Wow.
hotel. There was no anything. So I remember sitting right before I did like 3 miles, which 3 miles felt awful to me when I was throwing up. And so I remember thinking and calling my friend and saying, "I'm not going to be able to make this." And they said, "You will. Like, ask for help. You will." And so I kept going. I met some people along the way. They looked out for me as I was walking. Then I arrived into the town, and I met these 4 women, 4 moms. They had all just graduated their babies in high school, and they went on this trip. And they asked me, they said, "You don't look well. Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm not okay. Like, I'm really sick." And so they gave me medicine. So they had different like nausea medicine. So they gave me different meds that they had. And then they told me they were from Fuquay. I know.
Small world.
And so then they took me in.
Fuquay is like a small suburb outside of Raleigh.
Thank you. Yeah. Small, like, really close to us. And they had heard of a place at the table. And so they took me in. And so every day for the next like 10 days, they would text me and say, "Hey, we're waiting outside your room. Like, come when you're ready and we'll walk with you." And they helped me.
Wow.
And so that moment I realized, like, I don't have to do it all. I can ask for help. I'm not perfect. I get to be someone that people want to help too.
Yeah.
And so I made it and walked with them a lot of the way, and we all finished at around the same day and same time, and we've stayed in touch since.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so day 1,
Yeah.
it's raining. You don't know what you're doing. You jump in.
Yeah.
And you just go for it.
We go.
Right? You embrace
We're grinded.
the
We're
mystery.
going.
You
Yeah.
answer the call to adventure. And then how far into the 6 weeks do you get food poisoning?
It was like day 15.
Okay, so you're halfway
through. Yeah. I'm fit. I'm ready. I'm good. I'm
You're
like
feeling good. You found
I'm
a
crushing
pace.
it. I'm like, I'm so good at this. I could do this every day. I didn't have blisters anymore. Like, I was good.
How many
And
miles
then
are you doing
I
a
got
day?
Like 20, 15, 20.
Okay, that's a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, it's a trail.
Trek-
it's like
trek
an
all the way
old,
across.
Pilgrimage, right?
Yeah, it's an old pilgrimage, and it's
Like a spiritual journey.
500 miles exactly. Like this one, there's the French way. That's it's the most common way. You start in France on the border and hike to the coast of Spain, 500 miles.
So it quite literally is this hero's journey, right? It's tons of people do it.
Yeah.
And you go from town to town.
You meet people, you
sleep
stay in
towns.
hostels, and you just have a really amazing experience.
So you're doing 15 miles a day, 15, 20 miles a day, which is a lot for those who don't hike. And you stop at this place, you get food poisoning, and you're just out for the count.
Yeah.
You're kind of like at your wit's end. I mean, as you're explaining it, you're crying. You're like, am I going to make this? What other questions are you asking?
You're sharing a bath. Let me just put that. You're also sharing a bathroom with like 20, 30, 50 people in July heat in Spain, and you're sick. Think about that.
And this was about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious now, looking back.
Totally, yeah.
What do you think broke in you? Was there a part of you that like died or was left behind?
Oh my gosh,
in this
yeah.
kind of ordeal,
Yeah.
in this transformation. Like what were the stories or the parts of your identity that you left in that hostile bathroom, if you will?
Gross. With people not using shower shoes.
Yeah.
Nasty. Ugh. Yeah. So I mean, a ton of things. I think I left the thought that I have to be everything to everyone, that I have to be perfect, that table has to be perfect, that I have to do everything right. I can't make mistakes. I mean, I really held myself to such a high bar that going and experiencing this and finding myself that I needed to ask for help. Finding too that I really enjoy quiet. I enjoy pilgrimage because I enjoy being alone. And so finding too, so yes, to ask for help and be able to accept it from other people, and that I don't have to be perfect, but then two, knowing that I need space in my life to be in solitude, to be quiet, to reflect. I found that was really important to me, and I learned so much about myself, and I learned so much about other people, but I need that time I need to be able to fit that time into my life too.
And in the kind of hero's journey framework we use with the young men who come through our rites of passage, we talk about there's this call to adventure, and then there's often the refusal of the call, and then eventually once you answer it, it's not until after you answer the call to adventure that mentors show up. And I mean, these 4 women are just like a perfect example of mentors, but also kind of like the universe or spirit or God saying, hey, it's time for you, Maggie, to learn how to accept help.
Yeah.
Right.
1,000%. And Sarita was off, like, she was the first start of that. She ran this organization in Durham, North Carolina, and had very similar experience to me. Started a lot of different things, and she pushed me so hard to say, like, let me help you, let me be your friend, let me be there for you. Like, stop trying to make this a perfect trip for us. We got this. And so since then, I mean, she's such a dear friend in my life, and she changed my life. And so I think just having a friend like that I didn't know as well go on this journey with me for the first 6 days. And then now staying in my life too as that person I can call. And then these 4 women, and then also so many people along the way. I really, the Camino stands for the way, and I really met so many people along the way that changed my life. And then when I came back, I had all these people waiting to hear about my trip and see pictures and cheer me on, and so it was really just incredibly special to see how much I had folks cheering me on and supporting me in this.
And that is exactly like it's the framework that exists, right? Like anytime we're invited into something greater or we're invited into growth, I think this is a great framework for understanding it. The hero's journey, rites of passage generally. And it's why at Journeyman we create an experience that makes it really explicit.
Yeah.
So we have a weekend, and when I talk to people about it, there is transformation that happens.
Sure.
But we're not necessarily creating a rite of passage as much as we're mirroring the rite of passage that's happening in people's lives.
That's right.
So we're giving them
for it.
a literal, but also a symbolic and a metaphorical framework to understand. And so you were talking about call to adventure. You answered the call. Mentor showed up. There was this crucial moment, right? We call it like confronting the dragon, or this like.
There's definitely a dragon.
There's a threshold moment.
Yeah.
Where you're like, these old stories are dying off. Like you can accept help. You don't have to be perfect. And your drive for excellence is awesome, but out of balance if it's not connected to self-care, right?
100%.
And so what do you think you were taking home? Like what's the gift or the thing that you let go of this old story and you brought in something else?
Yeah.
What did you bring back to you, to those folks who were supporting you kind of when you flew back, or maybe during your European travels afterwards?
Yeah, definitely. I brought back, a lot of things. To people specifically, I brought back that I just grateful for their friendship, grateful for them wanting to know me and connect with me and be in my life, and letting people in more. I mean, Jordan, you know me really well. there have been many years where I've had a hard time letting people know who I am, and I've held up this shield. So I tried really hard when I came back to let folks be a part of my life too, and not just me be a part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say I definitely would say that. Like I feel like I put my shield down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I've hopefully tried to continue that. I think I came back to rest. I realized how important rest was in my life. So bringing that back into my life, I think I brought back boundaries, both with my community, but also with like my larger friendship community, but also with work. I didn't have to be everything. And I was able to set boundaries and wasn't there every weekend and stopped having to be everything for everyone at a place at the table. So I mean it and then I think I brought back solitude and that can mean rest too, but just this reflection and need and desire for some sort of spiritual connection and quiet time and time to reflect on all the things that are going on in life.
When we talk about development for young people, and specifically in Journeyman's context for boys, we talk about how important it is to connect to something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's a spiritual path. For some people, that's a set of values. But it's really important that you, like with the young men, that you help them move from dependence, like relying on others, to independence, to interdependence. I belong to a group, to transcendence. I believe in something bigger.
Yeah.
Right? There's something outside of me, or there's some set of values that I really care about. What was that for you?
Yeah.
Did you have a connection to the more than human world in that moment?
Great question. Yes, for sure. I'm a person of faith. I'm a Christian, and I really felt like I was like yearning for that before I left. I've always been a person of faith and been fortunate to have grown up in it, but I felt it was just not something that was a priority in my life, and wasn't making space and time for it. And so being on the Camino, I got to wake up every day and walk for literally 8 hours, and I spent most mornings just praying. Praying and talking to God and connecting. There were lots of different paths along the Camino that were, just reflective and like labyrinthy. A labyrinth is a word in the probably multiple faiths, but just allows you to connect even deeper. So I feel, yes, I got to really spend a lot of time with God on the Camino and was able to come back and keep that conversation going and keep connecting to what I believe in. And I'm so thankful for that time, because I really was not making that a priority in my life.
And what do you think the role of nature was in this? I mean, this is all outside, right? So yeah, for sure. Huge role. Yeah, huge. I mean, I see God in nature everywhere I go. That's where I see the higher power. That's where I see the bigger connection to just the bigger life, the spiritual world. And so I felt the presence every single step I took, and in every single view I saw. I felt alive. Yeah, I have a mentor who says he was explaining to me one day, it was like, nature offers us perfect reflection. So when we there's a reason why all of our rites of passage are nature based, and we're there's no phones included, right? And we're separating them from the things that make them feel comfortable and safe, so that they can look in at the internal landscape. And what we find is when you are outside in nature and you practice attuned presence, which hiking 15 miles a day will force you to be present. You're in your body. You're like, there is a physical toll. But when you're practicing that presence, I think nature offers you this perfect reflection.
It does.
Of like, it's not, I mean, you can add and project whatever you want onto it, but it'll often offer you like these little nuggets of like, oh, interesting, like that bird or that tree, or how does that connect to my internal landscape? So that's a really important key piece for us and how we understand rites of passage. It's cool that you had that on your experience.
I think that is something that a lot of folks connect to the higher powers for sure. Yeah.
Okay, August 2023.
Yeah.
You come back. You fly back into RDU. You're a new person. What are you bringing? What were the what were the benefits and the struggles of like trying to be this new person back in the same context?
Yeah. Great question. I was really scared. I was scared to go back. I was scared to connect back and find myself fall right back into it. But I leaned on several folks, leaned on community, and said, this is what I'm afraid of, and this is what I am afraid might happen. I'm going to get right back in. I'm going to be working 7 days a week, and please help me in this. I connected with a therapist, and so I found a therapist that I was able to reconnect with and start that conversation with. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like I came back and life began to look a little different. I felt healed in a way that healed from, I don't know what it was from, but just healed in a way that was like felt rested and ready to tackle all my work, all my community work in a different way. And I was excited. I felt rejuvenated. I felt excited to see people while being scared, but ready to kind of really restart in a different way. And I did. I did. I mean, ask me now, 3 years later, I think I need another rites of passage. But I carried that for a lot of years and still try to really reflect on different things that I learned along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. You come back a new person.
Yeah.
And you told a couple people.
Yeah.
So you kind of had this group accountability.
Yeah,
of
like please hold me accountable for this.
Hold me accountable. I want to show up this way. Did you write it down? Did you have like a party or like a homecoming ceremony of any sorts, or was it mostly just in relationship with those few
just
key
in
people?
relationship.
Yeah.
I probably should have had a Camino party. That would have been fun. Could I do it now, you think?
Never too late.
Never too late. Will you come to my Camino party?
Yes. And I think this is the part our culture gets wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing that in the rites of passage world, like in the space of transformational weekends, where people have these experiences, the reintegration is the piece that most people miss.
Yeah. So what do people normally do?
So with journeymen, we do the rites of passage experience.
Yeah.
And young men are asked what kind of man they want to become, what patterns and behaviors of childhood do they leave behind, and what's going to be different for them after this. So they're articulating both a vision and a dream of who they want to be, and they're talking honestly about what's getting in the way. And then they're asking mentors for help. And we see transformations, right? We track self-efficacy and social emotional maturity. We track all this stuff on surveys, but the things we don't track is like this kid who comes down like eyes down, not talking to anyone, and then leaves arm in arm with
joyful and
an 80-year-old
excited.
and a buddy who's like 16. And so we see that transformation, and we're like, how do we make sure that this sticks?
Yeah.
Because you go back into the
When
same
they re-enter,
context, you get pulled into the same dynamics. And so we started creating this homecoming ceremony where we have the young men. There's a couple things we do that are really important. It's a week after, so you give them some time to digest. We tell the young men, hey, take your time. You don't have to share everything with everyone right away. Like, allow this to kind of settle in you, like in your body, in your soul. And then we say the same thing to the parents. Your son's different. He had a really transformational weekend. He knows who he wants to become in some key ways, and he's faced some things.
Yeah.
He's shared some truth. Be gentle with him, right? So moms are invited to be gentle. And then we also ask moms and dads to say, give him some more responsibility around the house.
Yeah.
He's yearning for freedom, but tie that freedom to responsibility. So those are the things we say before we leave site on Sunday. And then a week later, we gather, we do a potluck. Everyone gets together.
A week later.
Okay. So we let some time to settle. And then we have the young man stand up in front of his community. So it's not just journeyman folks. It's his friends. It's his family. It's coaches. It's siblings.
Yeah.
And we have them share, what did they learn? What's different? In the middle of the circle. For a lot of folks, that's scary.
Super scary.
And then we have a mentor honor and bless in them something that they see emerging.
That's so cool.
And then we have a parent or a guardian honor and bless the man that they're becoming. And so these things kind of anchor it in like, we're going to expect different things of you. We see what you're pursuing, and we're proud of you.
Yeah.
So,
and we're here with you, I'm assuming.
Yeah. So that's Journeyman's context. A Maggie Camino party sounds awesome.
I mean, 4 years later, we can still do it.
I mean, I think it's important to think about the reintegration, the return.
Yeah.
Because then if not, you just keep chasing transformational weekends.
Yeah.
And you haven't let it land in the community. But I think
in your daily life.
What you did was key, which was tell people who you know and trust who can hold you accountable.
And they did. And they have encouraged me every year to continue to have these experiences and to integrate it into my life. And there is not a single person in my community that says, Maggie, please work more, please be here more, please do any of this. It is always, take care of yourself, Maggie. How are you taking care of yourself?
And not only your life, like you've built it into the culture of table.
Yeah.
So now you have a 6-week, you have a sabbatical policy.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Yeah. Lots of us have done it and continue. I mean, we got 2 folks going next year, and it'll only continue. So
one of our program managers, Caleb, if you're listening to this, Caleb, shout out.
Hey, Caleb.
Just got back from 2 weeks overseas.
Where'd they go?
Croatia and Serbia.
Nice.
Bosnia.
Okay, Caleb.
Sorry, Caleb. I forgot.
Are you gonna have a party?
Yeah, actually we are in a week.
See?
Yeah. So it's
cool, Jordan.
What did you learn? What's different? And I want to create that into a policy as well.
Do you keep, so after this you do a 1 week later? Do you check in again in 6 weeks? Do you check, like, does it continue or?
I think so. We in our kind of culture in Journeyman, we have 2 men's groups once a month. So we do 1 open men's group and 1 mentor training. Yeah. So training the mentors how to be with teenage boys and how to facilitate. And then once a month is bring what's ever going on in your life. So we have that consistent culture of share what's going on, share what's up. So Caleb and me and anyone else in our organization, and actually any man in the triangle who wants to
be a part of it,
be a better man, has access to that. And then we'll do a special event for him specifically. So
that's super cool. Way to go. I love that.
You mentioned 3 years later, you're like, you think it's time for the next
we need it. Yeah.
Do you have a sense of what that might be or what you're confronting?
Well, what's quite funny is I was thinking of doing another Camino, but I backed out. So because there's always something going on. So that is not the right answer. I'm not perfect. And again, not trying to be perfect, but I think this has challenged me to maybe start that reflecting again and maybe have a sense of adventure.
There's 2 things I'll recommend.
Okay.
One is Designing Your Life, which is human-centered design thinking applied to your life design. Harvard Life Design Lab, really cool book, really cool process. It's more, I don't want to say nerdy. It's like soulful, but it's more like, oh, here, I can work through this worksheet. Cool program. Me and my partner hopefully are going to work through this soon.
Nice.
And then the other one is a vision fast. I don't know if you've ever considered that, but for thousands of years across every culture, humans have done this, where they go out in the woods alone and they are in a spot holding a question or a prayer, and oftentimes they're fasting. So they're really, again, separating from things so they can really listen, like what's next, or they can work through something in their life and they can ask for help.
I love that.
Yeah. Consider it.
Yeah. Consider
it. I know some people who do this and who facilitate these. Happy to share.
Yeah, beautiful.
We work with teenage boys.
Yeah.
With Journeyman.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you're the first woman on the podcast.
Woo! Did I get a medal?
Yes, you get a medal because the work that we do is not, it doesn't just affect boys and men. It affects the entire society.
Yeah.
And something I've really appreciated from Richard Reeves and some other folks in the space have said, like, helping boys and men supports girls and women.
Yeah, supports the whole community.
And it really, it's like the rising tides lifts all ships.
Yeah.
I'm curious. We've known each other for a while. You know the work I do. You know the passion I have for it.
Oh my gosh, and I love your work.
Maybe we could start with, like, what's your understanding with what's happening with boys and young men right now? Do you have a sense of that, like a lived experience?
Yeah, for sure. Do I have how many lived experiences do I have? I have a lot of lived experiences with this. I have a brother. I have a male cousin. I have lots of men in my life, lots of male friends. It's interesting. I was having this conversation the other day with someone as I'm a part of planning these single events. So I'm very fortunate to work with 4 friends and plan these singles events. I was meeting with another friend who wants to start an app for pitching your friend. And so it now exists. I think Bumble or Hinge has now launched this, but we were talking about this a couple months ago, and she was saying, she was sending me all this research around how men are really lonely right now, and finding community for men, specifically single men, is really hard. And for me, I've always been so fortunate in my life to never, to recently not have community. And so I think the work you do, Jordan, is so important, because not only does it walk you through all these amazing rituals and makes you want to be a better man, but it brings you community. It brings people in your life that support you and love you and care for you, and that's what we all want in life. And so I do wonder if there is a lack of community, specifically in men. It's just harder to find, which then leads to a lot of other problems. You know me so well. You hear me speak about community a lot. I think community is the core of life. We all need it. We all want it, or most of us want it. And we need it to survive and be encouraged and experience joy, and so I wonder and question if it is just a lack of community and people around you.
I think that's a huge part of it, and you have this experience with singles events
and a place at the table
and so I'm thinking about, like, you're a community builder. You're a rock star at building community, and it's not like a sex separated space. So it's not
at all.
It's all genders. And I'm curious, what can we learn from you? And specifically, what can we learn from maybe from women generally around how you guys build community that might be helpful? Because it's a really unique problem, and I have a lot of experience with it. But I've been thinking a lot around, like, how do women relate to this issue? Because it's like a guy's issue, and we're trying to solve it. But I think community is right on. Do you have anything that you've learned from community building that might apply to the context of Journeyman or otherwise?
Sure. It's funny though that I even told my twin sister has 2 kids. One is a 5-year-old boy, and I already told her about Journeyman, and I'm like, when he gets old enough, he is joining Journeyman, because that is where he'll find community, and that is where he'll find other awesome boys that can encourage him and support him and allow him to be super vulnerable and himself. So you will have a new person in a couple years. Or
13 years old.
Yeah,
so we got some time.
It got time, but he'll be in that. It'll be with you. So no, but I think I do a keynote on community, and it always says that community it's all possible for all of us. It is here, and it starts with 2 letters, which is just hi. And so I think it's not being afraid just to literally say hi to someone. It's not being afraid to look someone in the eye and make them feel seen. And we can do it in the grocery store. We can do it in at the bank. We can do it literally in every part of our life. We can do it. And sometimes we have to be the vulnerable ones that initiate it, but it starts with 2 letters hi, and we are all already doing it, and we all can continue to do it. And so I think that it's just expanding yourself and opening yourself enough just to connect with the person that is sitting right next to you. And I think we at Table do that. We do that so intentionally. We try to do that at the singles events. We try to do that at Unconference of, wearing name tags and having a connecting question that connects you to someone. At a place at the table, there is a door greeter that's going to greet you and say hi to you and make you feel welcome, and then probably connect you to someone else that's standing in line that's also ordering the hot honey chicken sandwich. And so it's just those little things that we don't think are things that can really connect us all. If you're sitting at a conference next to someone, like, start a conversation with them and just say hi and see where it goes. So maybe that's not the right answer. Maybe that seems too simple, but it's people want community, and sometimes you just have to say hi.
At Journeyman, we're an organization for boys and young men, right? So we have men mentoring young men, and we have a female board member. She's our board president this year. We're excited.
Cool.
We're thinking a lot more about how do we engage women in this mission, right? Beyond just being donors. Awesome, we'll accept your donations, but how can we engage women to be champions? And I'd love to explore with you this idea of, like, what's your role as a mentor? Do you have any young men in your life that
Yep.
you show up for regularly.
Definitely, yeah. Talked about my 5-year-old nephew, but I also have my pride and joy is my 12-year-old nephew. He is amazing. They live in Holly Springs, and he is a soccer kid, video gamer, good friend, and just lover of life. And so I love being his aunt. It's so special. It's such a special relationship. And so I think, what you're noting on of the role women play in like boys and men's life is we are everywhere. We there's no doubt about it. Like I spend a lot of time with my nephew, and I go to his soccer games. We text every day. I text him every Thursday a trivia question.
Okay.
Yesterday's was what? I already forgot. But yeah, always some sort of I was about to get it out and I already forgot. It slipped my brain. But every Thursday we text about trivia, and then I check in most weekends, and every other day we text about something else. And so it's a really special relationship, and I am fortunate that he lets me into his life and lets me be a part of his life. And I see the struggles that he has. I see the school bullying that's happened multiple times. I see the hardships on the soccer field with the other boys because they're all trying to compete to score the goal, or they're trying to compete to be the better player or the coolest kid. I see the troubles that he had when he started middle school, and like such an unknown thing and a big school. And I see lots of different things that affect him at his age, and he knows that he can come to me. He knows that I'm there no matter what, and I will come and get him. I'll come and pick him up, and I'll always be that person for him.
Yeah, that's huge. And this is who you are, right?
Yeah.
You can't turn this off.
Yeah.
And when we look at things affecting boys and young men right now, it's half as likely to be in a relationship. Out of 100 people graduating college degrees right now, only 40 of them or so are young men. So they're falling behind in academics. They're falling behind in like love and relationships, and they're leaving the workforce.
Yeah.
And so, struggling with bullying and where do I fit in and who are my closest friends and
do I have friends?
What do I
And
do with my life?
Yeah.
And these are all questions that are very, very common, right? So people listening are like, oh, they're probably hearing you talk, and they're like, oh, I could relate to that.
Yeah.
And you have, being an aunt, being an auntie is like a really easy way to connect.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a mentor to your nephew?
I think so, and
Yeah.
I'd like to be. I'd
Yeah.
like to be that mentor that if he ever needed anything, I was there and speaking. I ask him questions that it's like no one's asked him before.
Yeah.
So I think so.
Do you think he would consider you a mentor?
I think so.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah.
he doesn't know how to put the words in there, but I think so. I think he knows that I am here for the advice, the hard, the good, the bad, everything, and here to support him. I think the other cool thing is you see how they grow up, and like we'll be in the car, I'll be asking him questions, and he's asking me questions right back. How's Place the Table? What's going on? Who did you hire lately? So like, what do you think I should do for my first job? So I think that I would say so.
That's
and
cool.
I think we're also lucky to if we get the opportunity to do that for younger men as women. I think many of us probably do have boys and men in our life that we're mentoring or friends with or in community with of some sort, and that is always going to be there, and so it is important that we have a place in it too.
Yeah, and there's the call to action I often give to men. I'm like, who are you mentoring, right? Boys are struggling, we need you to step up. And one thing I've in our organization, I've only said that to men. And I think what's interesting here is as we're talking, I'm thinking about like, let's say that to everyone. Like specifically like, people like yourself and women generally who are like, can ask good questions, who can be good mentors. Yeah. Is there a role outside of the aunt-nephew relationship that would be acceptable or welcome? I think this is really interesting where you think about like outside of being an aunt-nephew relationship, is there anyone in your life that's a teenage boy that you would mentor, feel comfortable mentoring? Yeah. And if so, what is that context and how do we create more opportunities for that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So years ago, I was at a youth group. I was I worked on Sunday nights with a friend of mine and helped mentor and be with youth. So middle school and high school, boys and girls. And so recently, God, it makes me feel so old. Recently, I had one of those youth call me, has just started a job in downtown Raleigh, call me to say, hey, can I sit down and pick your brain? And so we sat down and he picked my brain on all the things of a first job and getting started and how to make connections and where to go and what to do. And asked me who else I could connect him to. And so for sure, I think it comes up in so many different ways. We've got lots of young men and young boys at a place at table volunteering every day, 6 days a week, on the weekends, and it's really been cool to see. They've actually like formed this little community of like high school boys.
Really?
So they'll like volunteer on Saturday morning together, and when one of them's missing, they're the first to say, "Oh my gosh, this person couldn't come in today," and so it's been cool to connect with them as I've seen them really, change in this time of volunteering. They open up. They've talked to people while they're doing dishes. They've kept us updated on where they're going to school and what they're doing. I've written reference letters for them to get into school. And so definitely, I think all of us have a role to play in mentoring young boys and young girls. And it, to me, it doesn't really matter the gender of who you're mentoring, but I think they all need us in their lives no matter what.
Yeah. Do you think it's important to, in addition to everyone mentoring everyone, having, girls only spaces and boys only spaces?
I do.
Okay.
I definitely do, because I do think there is a separate element with that, that only men and boys understand and women and girls understand. So I do think the separate elements, like, it allows you to maybe I wonder, really just be yourself and open up and be vulnerable in that space. But I think it's also important to have that cross gender too.
Yeah.
For other elements that may not be experienced in a boys and men only group.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to explore that more. I mean, we'll have to get into it, but I'd be happy to come to table on Saturday mornings and hang out with these guys and bring them some of the frameworks of Journeyman, right? Those different check-in questions, help them build more of the emotional maturity and awareness.
Yeah.
There's like presence, awareness. There's these elements we could bring in. And then I also think the opposite's really cool. Like having you talk to some of our young men would
Let's
be really
go.
sweet.
Let me in. When am I coming?
Okay, cool.
Because we're always going to be in each other's lives.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a few people not. Maybe you're only in like similar gender spaces, but I think in general, whatever community group you're in, whatever faith community you're in, wherever you eat, whatever that looks like, there's going to be both gender spaces or multi-gender spaces.
And we let the young men drive the topics of conversation in our journeyman groups or J groups. And a lot of times it comes like dating or prom or asking someone out. And I think it's really cool to have the space where our mentors can model healthy masculinity and talk about like, what does it mean to respect women and et cetera, et cetera. But I think it would also be really cool for a woman to be like, like, this is how I would react, right? This is, and there's a way to do it that you have to be careful, obviously, but I think bringing that element in would be really interesting. I'm open to exploring it. One of the things that, we'll switch topics a little bit, there was the Raleigh teen takeover stuff happening, and I went to the city council meeting a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And, talking about a teen curfew and talking about all of these different ways to address how do we...
Teens,
And it's mostly young men. And it's mostly young men who are the ones, bringing weapons and being disengaged and having been recruited by other gang members, et cetera, who don't have, who might already have a felony, right? So then they take the gun so they can get the felony charge. And so it's a complicated issue. But you work in downtown, you're at a place at the table, you have teen boys coming to volunteer. And I think those young men have access to this community, right? This group of uncles and aunties and grandpa figures and big brother figures, right? Ro, I'm just imagining him being there, hanging out with them. And I think that's what's really needed. I don't think, no offense, but an open gym isn't going to solve the problem, or an extra programming isn't going to solve the problem, because these boys aren't opting into those. Yeah. They're, really middle school age. We need to be reaching them and helping build a positive, like, wraparound community. And I know Table's a place for that.
Definitely.
And I know Journeyman's a place for that. Do you have any thoughts on that generally? How to address kind of what are the upstream solutions to things we might see in a negative expression in like a teen takeover in downtown Raleigh.
I mean, I think you nailed it. It's positive community. Have you been a part of Haven House's boxing program?
I know about it.
Okay,
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, like so Haven House is a organization working with youth experiencing homelessness, and they have lots of different programs. And so that is an example of a community that is healthy and positive and is a place for kids to come after school and be. The Boys and Girls Club on Martin Luther King Boulevard.
The Teen Center.
The Teen Center is huge, and I walked in there a couple months ago, and all these, 100 kids just sitting, chatting, hanging out, and leading different programs there, and doing their homework together. And so I just think healthy community is, and people in your life that support you and love you is the answer to all of it. And I also think, yes, to your point about the teen takeover, and I think that having these mentors in your life, where people who say I have your back, is hard to find. And so I think it's like, how do we get into the hands of all these people? And you do it so well with being in the school system. And so it's like, how do we go deeper? How does every single school have journeymen in it?
Yeah, and I think there's this piece of like that community building piece. I'd love to see Raleigh and Wake County and North Carolina
wrap its arms around that
just
piece.
invest more in these systemic like upstream things. Like I'd love to see them supporting more of Table and more of Journeyman and things that really build community, right? Because when we talk about community leaders drinking coffee, one of the main things we're referencing, and the kind of frame I'm bringing into it, is like bonding and bridging social capital, right? Off of Robert Putnam's Bowling Alone work. That's what makes community strong, is when you have that strength of social capital within, and then also you're reaching out. And so more opportunities to do that, especially with youth, I think would be really cool.
I mean, truly, if you could get into every school system and touch every single kid that was there, it would make a huge difference.
Yeah, and there's amazing teachers.
Amazing teachers.
Thank you, teachers.
Yes.
But something about volunteers coming in and saying, hey, we're volunteering our time. We're in the community. We work at Pendo. We work at Red Hat. We work at wherever. And these corporations saying, hey, we care about Raleigh.
Yeah.
We care about Durham. We're actually going to pay our employees, give them paid time off to mentor, because we know that mentoring works. We know it's a positive childhood experience. We're going to pay these employees to volunteer 5 hours on a Monday at Table, or however long the shift is, right? I don't know if you have 4-hour shifts or a long lunch shift.
Yeah.
We're going to pay our employees to be a mentor in Journeyman, or with Empower All, with Valencia, or some other youth program. So
I mean, there are enough people in this community for everyone to be assigned a kid in school, and it could make a huge difference. And all you have to do is just love that kid, love that person, love that kid, and be their mentor. I don't know, do people think that mentorship is this scary word that comes with a lot of strings and a lot of work?
It's difficult. I mean, because I think people feel it's like a deep responsibility. Yeah. And people are afraid to take that on. Yeah. And so what we always say, 50% is showing up. Can you show up? Can you commit 6 hours a month for a year? Yeah. And just start there? Yeah. And some people feel really excited about it, and some people are really nervous. But I do think that would be an awesome idea.
Yeah. Every single person gets assigned a kid in the school system. Yeah. Show up 4 times a month.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Take over.
Let's do it.
No kid left behind.
Maybe we'll work on the branding there. Yeah, but I like it.
We'll think.
I think that type of investment is something we won't see immediately. It'll be a 10-year kind of impact, but it would be huge.
For sure.
And as a place where people love to raise families, in North Carolina, in Raleigh specifically, I mean, the reason it's such a great place to raise a family is there was people 10 years ago thinking about building the infrastructure. Yeah.
For sure.
And so it's kind of on us to think about what is that next thing. I mean, that's the core of Rite of Passage, as I understand it, is the elders of a community, the leaders of a community getting together and saying, what do the youth need? Yeah. What do they need to understand about how to be a human, about how to be an adult.
Yep.
And in our context, about how to be a man. And people
Good.
showing up and saying, this is it. We're here to support you. We're here to challenge you. And both of those at the same time.
Yeah.
And they're not mutually exclusive.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we're here and we love you.
Maggie, I'm really loving this conversation about how do we support our youth, and really thinking about two things come to mind. There's this old proverb that's like, if you don't initiate and support the children of the village, they'll burn it down just to feel the heat. And I think we saw a glimpse of that with the teen takeover thing. And it's not just Raleigh kids, it's people coming from outside. But I think this idea of where is the support? Where is the education? And part of it is like the natural entropy of adolescence. But our role is to say, how do we focus kind of this energy? And really curious about this idea of like every young person having a mentor.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
10 years from now, I see it.
Yeah. And I think like if the city, shout out to, the city council.
Yeah. I know everyone. Yeah.
Everyone on the city council, everyone in these top companies saying, what if we encourage adults to show up in the lives of young people? And what if we gave the training to them?
Yeah.
And
made it easy for them to do.
Yeah. We have enough organizations in place that have the minor safeguarding protocols that can support it.
You don't have enough people here that care and love people that could make it happen.
And that's what Table does.
That's what we do.
You provide a meal with dignity for people.
And a place for people to come together.
And a place for them to live and a place at the table.
Yeah.
So they belong. And then you say, well, let me connect you to all of these other resources and supports and services.
Yeah. And you belong there too.
Yeah. I love it. I love to see it. We've talked a lot about this, but I'll share it on the podcast, is that Journeyman's vision is like every 8th grader transferring from middle school to high school has this rites of passage.
That's good.
Supported by community, invited to grow. Our vision is that every middle schooler going from middle school to high school, specifically young men, because that's our focus area, have a community of intergenerational mentors that support them and are given a rites of passage experience. So they are challenged and cared for in their process of becoming. We talk about belonging as the prerequisite. So they belong, they have a place at the table, and then they are challenged and nurtured by other men in the community who embody healthy masculinity. That's our vision. We think it'll change the region.
Yeah.
And I think
it already is.
Raleigh and the Triangle has a great opportunity. I think a place at the table has a very aligned mission to belong and transform. Anything else that you would share about your experience of rites of passage or your hope for the children?
Your work is so important, and I feel fortunate to be a part of it. And I think that, I think this work can change the next generation and allow us to just really see each other and care for each other and care for the world. And we've got a uphill battle in this world. But if we can come back to the table and be together and be in community together, it really can make the biggest difference.
Agreed.
So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
For loving our boys.
There are a lot of problems in the world, and you and I have talked about this a lot, but like sometimes it can be lonely as an executive director and facing the problems and not knowing who to talk to about things. In this moment, what's something that gives you hope?
Oh my gosh, every single day I place the table.
Yeah.
I walk in and I immediately feel welcome. I immediately feel a part of it. I immediately feel full of joy. And so that brings me hope.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky to do that most days. And that brings me joy every day. My friendships, my community brings me joy. I have a friend that had a baby recently.
Nice.
That brings me joy. So there's so much good in this life, and we are lucky to experience that joy alongside each other.
Awesome. I have something I want to read.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite writings by Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman.
Don't forget that.
It's called The Sound of the Genuine. And I really see Table as a place where it's a community of concern and care that nourishes people, your staff, as they try to connect with the sound of the genuine. There is in every person something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in herself. There is in you something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. Nobody like you has ever been born, and no one like you will ever be born again. You are the only one. And if you miss the sound of the genuine in you, you will be a cripple all the rest of your life, because you will never be able to get a scent of who you are.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yeah. I mean, this is in his words, like there
beautiful.
is something in you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in you, and that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in other people. So thank you for being someone who listened and answered the call to adventure for your
Same.
own life, and who listens for that sound of the genuine in other people and steers them towards that path.
Same.
Lovely knowing you. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Lovely being your friend.
We'll see you soon.